Alex Burnham here, and I'm demoing this Phaez. Well, it's kind of it's an interesting beast because it's a Phaez. It started its life as a Phaez JTM 8, and then I sent it into Randy to be modified, and he made it into more of a Daisycutter 8. So there's a little more gain than a JTM would have, but it doesn't sound fully like a normal Daisycutter to me. I think it still has some of its, because I've played Daisycutters and they sound very modern. This still has a very JTM vibe to it that's very classic, and let me just make sure I'm rolling here. Yeah. So it runs, it says JTM 8 on the tin, but when it has, if you can put either a 606, a 6v6, or an EL34 in there. And I currently have an EL34 in there, which makes it more around the ballpark of 10 watts. It's got master, mid, bass, treble, and mod. Mod is kind of like a presence, and then gain. And then it has a boost switch. What you just heard was this Tele with a Kent Armstrong vintage style P90. It's very low output, 8.5K. And the gain was quarter of the way up. EQ was set with all the bass on, the mid on 3/4, treble and mod backed off slightly, and the master at about 1/3. It's not too loud. It's a good amp for a bedroom or an apartment. Yeah, speaker. I built the cabinet. For it, and the speaker is a WGS Reaper 55, which is sort of like a 55 hertz cone, a G12H30 kind of deal. So yeah. So I'm gonna play a little more on this Tele, and then I've got the Les Paul here because everybody likes to hear Les Paul. So let's give this thing a whirl. So I'm going to back the gain off a little bit on the amp, so put the gain at about halfway. So I'm going to crank the gain all the way up, and then I'll throw the boost on halfway through that. So. Boost. So you'll notice the boost, as well as adding a lot of gain, added a lot of top end to it. It's kind of like a, you know, on the old Vox amps or whatever, Vox amps, they have that top boost channel. It's kind of like that almost. It adds a little brightness and a little more gain. I have a bunch of pedals in front of me right now that haven't been on yet, but I kind of prefer to keep the gain all the way cranked, no boost, and if I'm going to use a boost, I'll use a nice overdrive pedal. So here's the amp, and then I'll throw in, like, I have a lovepedal Eternity overdrive here that I'll put in front. that should be noted is on the EQ, mids, they're huge, they're very important. This amp, the mid control adds a lot of volume into the mix too, and gain. The amp is so much quieter with all the mids out. So here's the amp with the mids where I had them. Backing it off a little bit. Backing it off all the way. Cranking it. So obviously the mid-range is a frequency that the guitar lives in, and it's really, on most amps it's very crucial. But on this amp especially, it just seems to have a hugely drastic effect on the sound. It adds tons of volume when you have the mids up, which is a nice thing. So now I'll grab, I'm just going to do a little clean stuff. So actually it rolls off nicely, so if I turn the gain all the way up, and then I'll roll it off on the guitar. And rolling it up again. What else? Oh, I'm just gonna back the I'll back the gain off and try to get a clean sound just from the amp. So. Alright, let me get this amp back where it was, and then I will put the Les Paul through its paces. Those pickups are extremely low output on the Tele, so this and the humbuckers are going to do something to it too. But I've noticed even other P90s that I've had have been more output than this. It's cool. It's like a vintage. But this thing's just the gain is gonna be crazy on it. Let me see.